Welcome to the Void of Thought. I'm Reggie Dixon, also known as Razir, and I'm here to help you become the best version of yourself while also helping to improve the quality of your life so that you can live the life that you came here to live. You ready? Let's get into it. You ever get so angry that you couldn't control yourself? Or that you shut down? Or that you lashed out and you hurt someone else or you hurt yourself? I definitely have done that because growing up, I used to have severe anger issues. I remember vivid memories of getting so mad at my older sister. I was only maybe 4 or 5 years old, but literally chasing her throughout the entire front yard because she did something that ticked me off and trying to punch her. I was that kid. Sometimes when I got angry, I would literally see red and I would just want to cause pain, cause havoc. So when I say that I dealt with anger issues growing up, yeah, I definitely dealt with anger issues growing up, but I've grown way beyond that. I've grown way past that. I've overcome those anger issues, honestly, a long time ago now, and I'll tell you how. But first, why is anger portrayed to be such a bad, negative emotion? It's simply because we aren't taught how to actually utilize our anger properly. Because emotions are just that, they're energies in motion. Energy, emotion, emotion. And so when you're dealing with anger, you're talking about intense feelings of passion, but misguided passion towards something. So when you get so upset, say for example, you're playing basketball or you're playing football, whatever sport that it is that you play, when you get angry, it's usually because you want to win. You want to beat that person. You want to best that person. Or you're angry at yourself for not being good enough, for not being as good as you think you should be, for not performing up to your level of standard, stuff like that. And so usually anger, when we act out in a way that is harmful or non-beneficial to ourselves or someone else, it's just because we don't know how to properly utilize that energy that we're experiencing, that emotion of anger that we're experiencing. And that was me when I was little. Someone would do something to get me angry. That's because I didn't want them doing that to me. I wanted respect. I wanted equal and fair treatment. I wanted, stuff like that. But when I didn't get that, I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know how to utilize my anger in a good and healthy fashion. So I'd lash out and I'd want to hurt the person for disrespecting me. I want to hurt them for misunderstanding me or misrepresenting me. And a better way to go about that, let's say that was the unhealthy way that I went about it with. And let's flip the script. Let's say I went about utilizing that anger in a healthy way. Utilizing that anger in a healthy way would look like me actually voicing and expressing how I feel. Say somebody said something, bad about me. Instead of lashing out and wanting to hit them, want to punch them in the face or something like that, I'd instead use my words, verbalize how I feel, express how I feel. So I really didn't like what you said about me, and it caused me to feel a lot of anger. And if I didn't know how to utilize this anger, I'd lash out and I'd try to hurt you. But I don't want that. I want the peaceful solution. I want the harmonious solution. And so, how about we squash this out? How about we talk about it? Something like that. You may say that that's wimpy or whatever, that's soft, that's weak. It really isn't, because it takes a lot of courage and it takes a lot of heart and passion and love for yourself to actually express how you feel to someone else, and not really get affected by if they're able to receive you or not. Because that's a whole different story. But staying firm and solid in your own understanding of yourself and utilizing your emotions properly, that's what we're talking about right here. And so let's get into that even deeper. So let's talk about how I overcame the anger issues that I was experiencing as a child. And a lot of the reason why I overcame these anger issues is because of my father and because of me observing my father. I saw how he would deal with adversity. I saw how he would deal with, things that would trigger the heck out of me and make me angry, make me want to lash out. How he would be more stoic. He would keep calm and cool and collected. He's the type of person that never really gets too high, never really gets too low. He's just steady, calm, and strong, moving forward, steadfast. He's that type of person, and I learned how to control and utilize my anger through observing him, how he responded to certain situations. Keyword responded, not reacting. Because usually when we act on our anger, that's us reacting without even thinking about what it is that we're about to do or what it is that we're doing. Maybe we do think about what we're about to do, but it's not in a good and harmonious way. It's in a very unhealthy and toxic way. And that's because we haven't trained our brains and our minds to really utilize anger properly. And so what I learned through observation, through observing my father and how he responded, is just that. Learn to respond instead of react. If you learn how to respond instead of react, then you're literally rewiring your brain and you're reprogramming your mind to respond to anger differently. So when you feel those emotions coming up, like what I would do is I would observe the emotions coming up within me, the anger arising within me. It usually starts from my stomach, like my root chakra area, and then it'll rise, and it'll just consume me, it'll overcome me, or overtake me. And that's when I started acting out and lashing out because I didn't know how to control it. It's energy that's rising up within you that you either know how to control or you don't. If you know how to control it, then you can utilize it for something positive, something good. But if you don't know how to utilize it, you don't know how to control it, then it's impossible to utilize it for something good. And it usually causes some form of destruction, some form of chaos when you don't know how to properly utilize it. So when you learn how to observe your emotions as they're arising within you, understanding that it's energy in motion. So in energy, it has to be in motion in order for it to be healthy. If you try to suppress, that's when you get guys and girls popping off seemingly at the drop of a dime. If they're triggered, they're popping off because they have so much suppressed and repressed emotions, so much suppressed anger that it's always looking for, energy has to be emotion. So it's always looking for a way to escape, for a way to be expressed. And when you don't know how to utilize that, when you suppress that anger, then anytime you're triggered, it's going to pop out. It's going to come out of you. It's going to be like another version of you is coming out and you can't control it. That's how it was for me growing up, until I started observing and learning how my emotions actually feel in my body, how my emotions feel in my emotional body. So instead of reacting to what it is that was triggering me, I chose to observe first. I started to ask the question of, wait, why is this actually triggering me? Why is this angering to me? I started to be more inquisitive, more observational, more analytical of myself and how I'm feeling in that moment. So I understand, like, in the heat of the battle, say if you're playing in a game, you get hit with like a mean elbow or something, you don't have time to sit there and actually self-reflect and ask, how does this make me feel? Like, I'm not talking about doing that. I'm talking about practicing this before you're in the heat of the battle, so that when things do arise like that, you know how to respond in a way that is still good and healthy and beneficial for you. So we'll talk about that more later. But right now, again, making the conscious choice to observe yourself as these emotions are arising within you. Just sit with your emotions. Don't be afraid to sit with your emotions. Because if you sit with them, those emotions are actually leading you to different parts of yourself. They're leading you to different parts of yourself that you can learn those aspects of yourself that are maybe hurt, that maybe have trauma in them, that maybe are confused, or whatever the case may be. Your emotions come from those certain parts of yourself so that you can learn those aspects of yourself, and then when you learn those aspects of yourself, you're able to integrate them and become more of a whole and complete being. And that's what I did growing up. Almost like I got better the older that I got, because it's a practice. And this is exactly what I'm going into next, talking about the practices, which are meditation and mindfulness, that helps me and will help everyone who practices them to be able to learn how to control and manage their emotions in a way more healthy manner. So meditation and mindfulness, and also self-talk. So I want to start with meditation first. So with meditation, really, mindfulness is an aspect of meditation, because when you meditate, you have to be mindful. You have to be present with yourself and actually aware of what it is that's going on in your mind, what's going on in your body, how are you breathing. So you're becoming deeply aware of the present moment and how you feel in that moment. So when you practice meditation and you practice sitting with yourself, being mindful with yourself, being mindful of everything that's going on around you, then it unlocks a higher aspect of yourself. It unlocks a higher version of your consciousness, because instead of being, in the monkey mind, operating from a small percentage of our brain of just acting and reacting and reacting and reacting, you're taking a second to pause, taking a second to sit with yourself and see why it is that I'm actually reacting in the way that I have been reacting. And then when you're aware of those patterns, you're able to see them as just that, patterns. You're able to see the patterns and you're able to either choose to continue on with those patterns, or you can choose to disrupt those patterns in them and start new, healthier patterns. Instead of something triggering you and you going into a rage or you lashing out and spiraling downwards. I say spiraling downward meaning you're going into a lower state of yourself, so you're not really acting in a good, harmonious way. You're not really acting in a way that would actually de-escalate the situation and find a solution, whatever it is. Like whether it's someone's trying to pick a fight with you, whether you dropped a bowl or a plate on the floor and it broke. Instead of going into a downward spiral and causing even more chaos and more disharmony to happen, you're able to stop and pause and say, this is angering me. I acknowledge that. I'm very angry right now, but I have the choice of what I would like to do in response to the situation. So that comes from practicing meditation by sitting with yourself, analyzing and getting a good feel for how your emotions actually feel in your body. Because the more that you get in tune with your emotions, the more that you're able to utilize them, the better that you're able to utilize them. And the better that you're able to utilize your emotions, you're able to utilize them as fuel. So that whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's getting better at basketball, whether it's going to school, going to work, whatever it is, whether it's a relationship, no matter what it is, you're able to utilize those emotions as fuel to help you continue getting better and better and better. So this is the reason why I'm talking specifically about anger, because anger is so prevalent right now within our lives. And we have 50 million things a day that try to anger us, that try to trigger us. And so if we feel anger coming up within us, we got to know how to utilize that. And again, practicing meditation daily is something that really helps with managing and utilizing that anger that may arise naturally within us when we're triggered by certain things. And then when we are in those moments, or before or after those moments that we were triggered, practicing good self-talk is crucial, because so much of our lives, again, I talk about this in my book, Living Proof. So I believe it's a whole chapter on positive self-talk and how negative self-talk can be a very detriment to us, and how positive self-talk, being real with ourselves but also positive, can acknowledge where we're at but also where we're going. So when you practice positive self-talk, say you're a basketball player, you're an athlete, and say you're on a team, right? You're on a team that you've been you tried out for, you made the team and everything, but you're not getting any playing time. Instead of getting angry, getting frustrated and saying, man, this coach sucks, this coach don't even know how to utilize me, this coach, going off on a tangent like that. Instead of saying that, like, that wouldn't get you anywhere. Lashing out like that, that'll only make it even more difficult for you to actually get playing time. So instead of utilizing that anger and just lashing out at the coach or your teammates, whoever it may be, or just shutting down and disassociating yourself, those will make it worse for you. Utilize that anger to make it better for you. Utilize that anger to drive your passion, or to drive that desire to get better and better and better. So if you got practice, ask a coach, utilize that anger, channel that anger to ask a coach, Hey, I want to get better on this. I want to learn how to do this. I want to learn how to do that. After practice, or even, a day, before game time, or whenever you have time, ask your coach to work with you. Ask one of the assistant coaches to work with you. Because when you work out with the coach, that's showing them that, yo, this kid is serious about getting better. This guy is real serious. This girl is real serious about getting better. So I'm gonna take them seriously too, because you're operating with that passion, that fire that's burning within you to get that playing time, to have a significant role on the team, and maybe potentially even be one of the best players on the team. But it starts with the work that you put in, and how you put that work in. One good way is when you have that anger that's within you, you utilize that, you channel that into every single rep. You allow yourself to focus, be extremely laser focused on what it is that you're doing, and utilizing that anger as fuel to keep fueling that focus, keep fueling that desire, keep fueling that passion to get better. So again, that comes from practicing meditation, observing yourself, and being familiar with the emotions and how they feel within your body. Because if you're not familiar with how anger feels in your body, or how things like joy feel in your body, or how sadness or depression, whatever it is that feels in your body, when it arises, it's going to be almost unrecognizable for you. You're not going to really know what it is. And if you don't know what it is, you're not going to know how to utilize it. You're just going to be acting out or reacting based on whatever way that is, whatever natural pathway that you've already forged for yourself. And usually those pathways are unconscious for you, or unconscious for us, because again, we haven't practiced actually utilizing our anger or any of our emotions in a good and healthy and beneficial way. And so when you practice self-talk, positive self-talk, going back to that basketball example of trying to make the team, instead of lashing out, talk to yourself. This is like one of the first steps. Talk to yourself. Acknowledge where you're at. Say, okay, I'm not getting any playing time. Low key, I might be a bad player. So if I'm a bad player, how do I get better? Because I know that I can get better. That's the positive self-talk. Being real with yourself and saying, okay, I may be a bad player. That's why I'm not getting playing time. But I can change that. Real and positive. I can change that. So how do I get better? Okay, so my left hand is a little bit weak. So let me work on that. Let me work on my handle. Let me make it so that I never ever miss a layup. Ever. I'm talking about like wide open layups. I never ever miss a wide open layup. So now, next thing after that, let me make it so that I become an efficient jump shooter. Catch and shoot, 3 or mid-range, whatever the case may be. Take it step by step, but that starts with the self-talk. Because if you watch like Kobe interviews and stuff like that, the same stuff that he's talking about. So remember, he talked about when he was I think he was 12 years old, and he was playing, I believe it was like a summer league or something like that, and he was getting torched, he was getting demolished, because he acknowledged that he wasn't good, he sucked. But he didn't get down on himself, he didn't get angry and lash out at nobody, he didn't shut down. He said, okay, well, I'm here, and I know that I can be better, so how do I get better? He asked himself that question. Same thing I've done within myself plenty of times. I ask myself a question of, okay, so how do I get from here to here? And then when you practice meditation and being mindful, that answer will come within you. That answer will either come up from within you, so it'll just come to you seemingly out of nowhere, or you attract the answer to you. You may have a coach just come up and tell you like, yo, you gotta work on this, that, and that. And like, oh, that's the answer that I was looking for. So yeah, let me go work on this, that, and that. Or it may come from watching TV, listening to the radio, music, whatever. This universe is so expansive. This universe is so divine that answers can come from absolutely anywhere. I just prefer going to the source within so that we can have the answers really at our disposal anytime that we want. And so also when we practice positive self-talk and in those moments of anger arising within ourselves, when we choose a better option, when we choose a healthy way to go about the situation, whatever it is, when we choose to deal with that anger in a better way, we're literally rewiring our brain so that even if we are unconsciously reacting to a trigger that's making us angry, we're more likely to react in a way that isn't detrimental to us, that is more on the positive side, because we've done that work within ourselves. That's what the spiritual work is for. That's what the self-mastery work is for. Doing the work beforehand so that when the moment arises, we're prepared. Same exact thing with basketball, same exact thing with football, soccer, baseball, whatever sport that is you play, whatever that is that you do in your life. If we prepare beforehand, then when the time arises, when the time comes for action, we're ready, we're prepared. So that's why I stress heavily, practice meditation, practice mindfulness, practice good, positive self-talk, so that when you are put in those situations where you may be triggered, those triggers, you don't respond in the same way. You respond in a way that is more beneficial, more healthy for you and the other people involved. So I say, for example, like literally as I'm recording this, last night I watched the Warriors versus Suns game. Draymond Green, the punch to Yusuf Nurkic, like, dude did not have to react in that way. He was angry because he was getting held on his hip, right? You can see, yeah, it should have been a foul because he was holding him. He was preventing him from moving. Yusuf Nurkic was preventing Draymond Green from moving freely. That's a foul. But instead of just either falling forward or just pushing his hand off of his hip, he chose to react in the most outrageous way that I think I've ever seen a player react to that type of foul. He chose to spin around, do a 360, and basically pimp smack Nurkic, and he got ejected for that. And because of that, you could argue that that's why they lost the game, because they're doing pretty well when they had Draymond on the floor. But after that, they're still playing well, but obviously it wasn't enough to actually win the game because they ended up losing. So you can say that Draymond Green was a detriment to his team because he didn't know how to control his anger. He didn't know how to control his emotions in that moment. But if he would have been able to control them better and choose a way to actually either get his hand off his hip or get the attention of the ref and show that he's getting fouled, or just, play through it without reacting in that moment, then that would have been more healthy and more beneficial to himself and his team, because he wouldn't have got kicked out. He would have kept playing and they would have had a better chance of winning. But he chose the worst of the options. And because he didn't, I don't know what he does in his personal time. I don't know if he practices meditation, if he does positive self-talk or anything like that. But in that moment, it didn't seem like he was prepared to handle that situation in the healthiest and most beneficial way for himself and his team. And that's what I mean by preparation. When the action arises, we're already prepared. Because, I don't want to turn this video into just me talking about Draymond, but he has a history of acting out in those, very similar type of ways. Hurting people, kicking people, stomping on people's chests and stuff. So obviously there's some work that needs to be done within himself. And I'm not trying to bash him. I'm just trying to use that as an example to highlight what it's like to actually be on the negative side of the spectrum of being a detriment, being harmful to yourself and to others by not responding to the anger in a healthy way. And an example of choosing, to respond and utilize the anger in a healthy way, in a more beneficial way, would be like, say if you got hit with a nasty elbow, right? The ref didn't see it, so there's no foul call. You get hit with the elbow, you're pissed, you're furious. You want to do something back, you want to retaliate. But usually it's the retaliator, the ref always sees the second action. The ref always sees the retaliation. Never the first action, seemingly, but always the retaliation. So that's what happened to Draymond last night. He retaliated. Ref obviously saw, the entire arena saw that, and he was gone from the game because of it. But if you get hit with that elbow, get held, whatever the case may be, take note, okay, that pissed me off. But I'm going to utilize that anger to drop 10 more points on your head. I'm going to utilize that anger to dunk on you. I'm going to utilize that anger to do something, break your ankles, to do something. I'm going to block the crap out of you. Next time you go down the court, go for a layup, I'm going to swat that thing to the third row. And my team is going to win because I'm not retaliating and get myself ejected or giving the other team free throws for picking up a tech. And if you still do want to do something to the other person that did something back to you, you now have the option to maybe do it in a sly way that they did it too. I'm not condoning that action, but you do have that option because you chose to utilize that anger in a more smart way, in a more beneficial way for your team. So you're not just lashing out, you're taking that energy saying, okay, I'm gonna utilize this as fuel and I'm gonna play even better because of it. Because I did the work beforehand, I prepared beforehand, so my mind is already sharp. So when that anger arises within me, I already know what it feels like. I already know how to utilize that. So I'm just gonna utilize it to do even more, perform even better in the game. And that's honestly exactly what Michael Jordan did. And I think Kobe to a degree as well. You know, they say like there's stories of Michael Jordan like having, you know, like a average game until someone talks trash to him. Someone ticks him off. Someone makes him angry. And when he gets angry, when someone's talking trash to him, that's when he played at his best. That's when he dropped, you know, 40, 50, whatever the case may be on your head. And that's because he knew how to utilize that anger. That anger got him going, and he knew how to utilize it and channel it and utilize it in such a pinpoint, precise way that it allowed him to actually play way better than, you know, just his normal game, his average game. So, yeah, I'll leave it off on that. But again, practice meditation, practice mindfulness, practice positive self-talk so that when that anger, those emotions arise within yourself, you already know what to do because you observe them, you know what it feels like, now you know how to utilize it. So, yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments and I'll be happy to answer them. So, much love to you, wholeness. I'm out.